ACP, Andrew Comrie-Picard, you are back in Southern California after an incredible weekend of snow and ice and insanity at the Snowdrift Rally. Welcome back.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's nice to be warm again. I was all bundled up and nearly froze my patootie off. But it's great to be back in California, and it's great to be starting the season again in rally.
In a new car, you competed in Scion the last, 3 years, built a program, a very valid program, challenged for the championship last year, and now you're starting over again in the Ford.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of growing for the brass ring. You know, I had a really great last few years with Scion, and they're great guys, and we're still great friends. But as of a couple of months ago, it didn't look like they had a program going forward to this year, and Ford got in touch, and we put together a thing. And it turns out Scion is going to be able to do some of the rallies, maybe all the rallies. So it's going to actually end up being great. I'm driving the car that I lost to last year, that beat me, and that, to be fair, is extremely well developed. You know, M Sport in the UK, a proper rally team, and Team O'Neill in the US have developed it into a very competitive car. Brendan Reeves came from Australia last year and gave me the gears with it. The Scion
gave you the gears?
Yeah, literally and figuratively. They've got the Ford has a better transmission. That's part of it. The SATIV transmission is sequential, really good. But it's kind of a bittersweet thing because the Scion car, the XD that I helped develop over the last few years, is a great car, and I really enjoyed working with that. But it's really exciting for me to be working with Ford. It's a great brand, one that I've always wanted to work with. We've been looking for ways to work together for a while, and I feel a lot of affinity to it. You know, when I grew up on the farm in Canada, my first thing that I drove was a Ford 8N tractor, and the first pickup I drove was an F-150 around the fields, and I feel a lot of connection to the brand. So between being with Ford and being with BF Goodrich, Michelin, it's kind of a dream team for me to be with the brands that I associate so closely with.
Will there be some other things besides rallying? I know it's very early in the process now, and you can tell me what you want to tell me, but will there be some other things with ACP and Ford?
Well, part of the reason for working with Ford actually is that they have such an amazing social networking group and interesting stuff. So there's other stuff that I'm interested in and that we've actually talked about prior to this deal coming together, including expedition stuff and long-term endurance, long-distance endurance stuff. So and there may be other things besides. So it's another one of the reasons why the association with Ford is really exciting for me is that they're a multifaceted company with lots of interests, and that's sort of how I like to think of myself too. So I hope we'll find other ways to work together.
I was just getting ready to say, you're a multifaceted guy with lots of interests, from lawyering to agenting to racing to drifting to rallying. You've done a lot of stuff in your life, and you always come back to rallying. We're going to get to this MG that you rebuilt, but you always come back to rallying. That's your first love, the adventure of that sport.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Bill. It's like I've been lucky to do quite a few formats of racing and different things, and for me, I feel most natural behind the wheel of a car. That's really what I'm best at. You mentioned that I was a lawyer for a while. It was a terrible mistake. I am much better behind a steering wheel than behind a desk, and really the reason that I'm into rally, and the reason I've also enjoyed, thanks to BF Goodrich, doing the Baja 1000 and why I'm looking at expeditions and stuff now, is that for me, the real challenge of cars is doing something really challenging with cars. And the most challenging thing you can do really is rally. To take a production-based car, go flat out down a 1.5 lane dirt road, jumping it through the air, narrowly missing trees, with a co-driver talking into your ear. That for me is kind of the pinnacle of difficult with cars.
And this Ford deal, before we get, again, this MG, I love this car. This Ford deal is for 1 year, 2 years, multiple years, event to event. What's the status of that? It's with Team O'Neill Racing, Team O'Neill Rally School. So it's ACP Racing, Team O'Neill Rally School, and Ford Racing all in a mash together to make this happen.
That's true. Yeah, it's I don't even know really amongst us. I mean, Team O'Neill prepares the car. They own the car. Ford Racing though is well behind it, and I'm helping out with some of my sponsors and my media stuff. So it's really a great partnership, actually. We sort of all have something to offer to it. And for now, we're pushing for the two-wheel drive championship this year. But going forward, I think that if things go well, I think we could look at it as being a longer-term thing. So I tend to do long-term stuff. I mean, 3 years with the previous manufacturer is the shortest amount of time I've been with any sponsor. So I tend to have long-term relationships, and that's why I value things like, for example, BF Goodrich, who, I mean, I just consider myself like basically now a lifelong BF Goodrich guy, and I hope to do the same with Ford.
All right, Andrew Comrie-Picard, step out of the picture here. Let's look at this as MG. British the British motor car used to rally these things. You're a rally driver.
Yeah.
Did you build this to do some rallying with, or just cruise here in Southern
No,
California?
When I moved to Southern California from Toronto, I decided that I would look at and try to find a car to bomb around in. And fortunately, I already had an old Porsche 930, which was sort of my daily driver, but I started feeling guilty driving it all the time, putting miles on it. So I found this out in the desert in near Lancaster for like $2,000, and I over the course of a winter, a couple of winters, restored it, and now it's my daily driver in LA. And I've restored a few of these before, and I am a car guy. I work on cars. I used to build all my own race cars, and that's good and bad. It's good because if you have the mechanical sympathy, if you understand what's wrong with them or what has to be done to them, it helps you when you're actually out on the races. On the other hand, I think that you shouldn't work on your own car too much, or else you like it too much to actually drive it as hard as it has to be driven. This car, I can't say I put love or blood and sweat and tears in it, but I restored it carefully to my specs, and it is equipped enough to be a little TSD rally car. But the problem with that is I'm not going to go out and rally it like they did in the 60s, because going down that rabbit hole of competing at something else will mean that in no time at all this car will have wider tires, better suspension, Weber carbs, all kinds of stuff to make it as competitive as possible in its class. So my racing thing is directed to the Ford and Team O'Neill and effort this year with BF Goodrich, and my cruising down the coast near Malibu for the good of my soul and for my heart is in this car.
I'm not going to tell you how many hearts you broke. I'm still stuck at the $2,000. I know guys that have spent twice that much just to get wheels that look that good for this car.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a show that we've been pitching that I call. Well, it's basically a flipping show, but an aspirational car thing where, in California you can buy these cars that have no rust, and they're diamonds in the rough. They need a few little things, and if you know what you're doing, you can have a little fun. I've always done this actually in my spare time, such as it is, and in the winter of 2011, I guess I had a little spare time. I haven't actually lately, so it's a good thing I got this car done. I've been doing some TV stuff, but you know what? It keeps my idle hands busy, and I find the busier that I am, the more I get done. So it was just a distraction in a way, a little bit of therapy for me when I was actually really busy with other stuff.
Andrew Comrie-Picard, thanks, partner.
Thank you, man.